welcome guys to the first episode of Ableton Live Quick Tips and Tricks. Today I just want to show you something called parallel, well, in this case it's parallel reverb, but the technique behind this, you can actually use this on any plugin or effect right across the board, and it's also really great for creating a dry wet knob when the plugin itself might not have a dry wet. So I've just pulled up an old, very unfinished project, just because it's not too heavy on the CPU while I'm doing the recording. So we'll have a listen to it and then I'll show you what we're doing.
Joy, I have been nice to you, but now I'm coming to the edge.
I promise you one thing, okay? If you do not have at least one food that you like, I will buy you a piece of junk. Is that a deal?
No, I keep losing at deals, and I don't want to make a deal anymore. I am leaving, and you can't stop me.
Respect the elderly, mother.
Okay, that's pretty much as far as I ever got with this track. But today I'm just going to be showing you an example of parallel reverb and why you would use it. So let's go to our snare. So we saw the snare. Okay, I would turn off the reverb for now. Yeah, so dry snare. It does actually have a tail to it, so I wouldn't necessarily use reverb on this snare. But like I said, this is an example project, so let's just see how to do it anyway. So I'll open up my reverb like normal. Okay, so say that's how I want it. That's 100% wet, right? Obviously, say we want, maybe 47% or whatever. What's actually happening there, guys, is like there's this, it's a blend between the wet signal and the dry. So think of it as like, even in synthesis, how you have say you have a square wave joining with a sine wave and two different oscillators. Neither one of those shapes is actually going to remain original. The sine is going to become squarish and the square is going to have rounded edges, right? Same sort of principle. So that's really bad news when you're doing reverb on something like a snare, right? We want that original punch, and you won't get that unless it's completely down like dry, right? So how do you get around that? Well, I always do parallel reverbing on my snares and lots of other things as well. So without further ado, this is what I've made just to save time for this tutorial, but to quickly show you how you go about making this, simply click on your reverb, go Apple G or Control G on Windows, and now this is now grouped a reverb into an audio effect rack. So very simply click this button here, opens up your chain view, and right click in this gray area, Command R for rename. I always just make a habit of calling this new chain dry, and you don't put anything there, right? And then this one, you can name this if you want. Let's just do it for sake of it, but I know that's my reverb channel, right? So advantages of this: Ableton's signal flow comes from left to right, right? So this original sound's coming through here, all through these plugins. When it gets to these chains, it splits, and a duplicate, like a copy of the sound, goes into both chains at the same volume. So what that allows us to do is go back into our reverb, turn the mix to 100%, and you can solo this reverb channel and just keep tweaking away at your reverb to really get the reverb you want, like the right character and whatever, and then simply dial it in. Right, you can dial in the volume of the 100% wet signal. So it's a lot cleaner way of doing it, right? Like this dry signal is unaffected. It's like layered on top, right? As long as it's always louder amplitude, it just sits on top, and you get that original punch. Nothing is like washed out with the reverb or anything. So like, would definitely recommend implementing this sort of thing into your workflow. The other advantages of this is you can treat the reverb separately. Like you now have all of this room on this chain to shape the character, take out bad resonances or whatever of the reverb. So you can see I've just kind of taken out the low end of the mid information and got rid of a couple bad frequencies there. Just another example of how you could use this on our bass here. Okay, come on CPU, you can do it. So what's happening here is this is my bass. I've got reverb coming off this. Let's just solo the reverb. And notice what happens there. For the entire time the actual sound is going, the reverb is very quiet. So we've got a few things happening here. I've actually used an EQ to cut off all of the high-end frequencies of this sound, of the bass, before it gets to the reverb. This is actually called the Abbey Road technique. What I like about this, rather than putting an EQ on the end of my chain, is just like, these are expensive plugs, right? With really heavy algorithms and lots of magic behind the box. So what I like to do is let the reverb go unrestricted. I don't want to choke off any of the frequencies that this thing makes. Simply just shape the input instead, and I find it always gives a better sound. The other thing I've done is I've actually put a sidechain compressor sidechaining to this actual channel, the clipboard channel, right? So and very important, the sidechain is right at the end behind the reverb. If it was in front of the reverb wouldn't really be activated until the end of the sound, if that makes sense. So the reverb needs to be hearing the sound, and then the sidechain cuts the sound out while the original's there, just so it doesn't get too muddy, right? Because the reverb I want is this big deep echo, right? The other thing I've done here is a delay. Same thing, I've got the sidechain compressor cutting out the delay while the actual sound is playing, but the delay is still actually like registering and picking up. And then I've chucked a wide sound on there, which is just a bit of a stereo trick where you delay a sound by anywhere between 2 milliseconds and 16 milliseconds. And it's such a quick delay, right, that your brain actually perceives that as width. Do it, like, build this little thing for yourself, and yeah, give it a try. As you go up the milliseconds, you can hear the sound stepping further and further around your ears. It's quite bizarre. Psychoacoustics. So yeah, just so many benefits of using racks and chains like this, guys. You know, you get your own mixer for each channel, or you get your own panning controls. You can solo. That's enough from me. Until next time, take it easy, guys. Happy producing.